here in the future. All right, let's jump into the injury report, guys. There's a lot of stuff to kind of to raffle through here because some things kind of changed today with Javon Bullard. Shout out to Paul Brettel. He tweeted out Bullard a non-participant, but Quay was upgraded to full participant. So when you look at this entire injury report here between the Packers and the Bears, the things that changed were Bullard going from limited to did not participate with the ankle. Now listen, was it they got him out there Wednesday and said, okay, we know where it's at. Let's take the rest of the time off this week and get you ready for Sunday? Or is it something that they went out there, oh, crap, it's worse than we thought, and now he's a did not participate and going to be possibly not going, right? That's going to be the big question there. And the other thing, though, to talk about was there was a tweet that was put out about Nate Hobbs, since we're talking Javon Bullard here, and it kind of, to me, it seems like the key talking point here. Rob Domofsky tweeted out, sounds like Hafley would consider playing Nate Hobbs in the slot if needed, and it might be needed this week with Javon Bullard popping up on the injury report. Hobbs, who had been playing outside since he signed with the Packers, appears ready to return from his knee injury. So all signs are pointing to Nate Hobbs getting back on the field. You guys know how I feel about Hobbs. I feel like he's a much better slot corner based off of his Raiders tape than an outside corner. So if Bullard can't go, you kick Nate Hobbs into the slot, keep Nixon at the left cornerback from the defensive perspective, Carrington Valentine at the right cornerback spot. You got Kamal Hadden coming off the bench, who played pretty well when he came in relief duty. But that's kind of, I feel like, where we're at right now. How do you guys see this playing out? Do you think if Javon Bullard can't go, do you feel pretty confident that Nate Hobbs can step in there? Because his run defense grade and the stuff he's put on tape in the run fits just as good, if not better, probably better than Bullard's run defense this year, although he's played outside and Bullard's been inside in the slot. The coverage, though, I think we would all agree, Bullard's been a better cover corner this year than Nate Hobbs. How do you guys see it?
Yeah, I think that's a pleasant surprise. We've talked about with Bullard, right? The coverage grade is, steadily improved throughout the season. My concern is if he's not a go and you do put Hobbs in the slot, Hobbs coming back with this nagging knee issue. He had the cleanup or whatever in the preseason, kind of missed some time. How much are we going to get out of him? And if Hobbs is going to be able to hold down the slot, is it for an entire ball game? Play in, play out. And if not, and you don't have Bullard, what's the game plan then? And to me, I think, you probably have to kick Nixon back to the slot, and then you got Kamal Hadden on the boundary, in an emergency break glass situation. But I feel confident in Nate Hobbs playing the slot. I always have. Like you said, the Raider tape doesn't lie, and we know what he's able to do against the run, and we're playing the Bears. We know about the running attack of the Chicago Bears, so I've got no hesitancy at all with Hobbs playing the slot. Hopefully Bullard is a go, but going from limited to a DNP is not great.
Yeah, I think I'm with you right there at the end, Tim. Hoping for Bull to get back. He's been playing great. I think he's a super key piece of this defense that, has been slept on, and people were cutting on him early in his career a lot. So I'm glad that, he's been hitting his stride there. But when Hafley was asked it was kind of like, you've strictly played Hobbs on the outside since he's been here. Is that something you consider moving him inside? He goes, yeah, I mean, definitely. Why would I not consider? He's a great player, all that. So I think in how fast he did respond, I think that's definitely a consideration. I totally see Hobbs being able to handle it in there. Not worried about, him in there with the run defense and all that. He stuck his nose in there. And I think that we'd be, and still in good shape where we're at. Then probably Evan's going to pick up a little bit more snaps, I think, than if Bull's not out, because we still did flip Bull up to safety sometimes. So I do think if Bull is out, Evan's going to probably play close to 100% of the snaps.
Got it. The other thing that sticks out to me here is obviously Quay Walker returning from injury, right? He was limited Wednesday, full participation today, according to the injury report. However, when you talk about him and McDuffie, we've talked about the PFF grades, and PFF seems to think McDuffie is playing at a much higher level than Quay. And we always say, look, cross-check everything. What does the tape show, right? What does the tape show? What does PFF say? What does the next-gen stats NFL Pro data say as well, right? I'm working on right now, and I'll have this number in like 30 seconds. how good McDuffie has been in terms of a stop rate. You guys know what stop is. It's when a player makes a tackle that results in a negative EPA or a negative play in terms of EPA for that specific play, right? With Quay playing 585 snaps, right, is what his snap total is. His stop percentage, all right, is 7%. Okay. McDuffie's, he's only played 326 snaps, right, to Quay Walker's 585. And he has 36 stops to Quay Walker's 41. His stop rate is 11%. I mean, you're talking about that's significant. You're talking about a 4% higher stop rate. So it's not only is it showing up on the tape, not only is PFF saying he's played better, but also you're noticing it in the NFL Pro data as well. Now, if Quay's fully healthy, they're probably going to put him out there and put the green dot on him and go back to the way they were operating, right? I think that's the most likely scenario. But if they do go with McDuffie over Quay and Quay is playing, I think they'll have in their back pocket, Emilio, that, hey, we wanted to limit his snaps so it don't look like they gave McDuffie the start over him. That's a benefit to this whole situation. And maybe we don't find out till 2 or 3 games down the road. But I want to get your all's take on it, because the more I dig into it, it feels like McDuffie's playing better than Quay this year, but Quay has taken a huge step in the right direction. The other aspect of it, obviously, is Quay is a physical freak, Emilio. Like, he is way more athletic with size, length, speed, quickness, even the way he hits. I know McDuffie brings a thump too, but Quay's a hard hitter. If you seen these two guys on the playground, you're picking teams, right? And you got to pick between those two. You're taking Quay on the playground. That's what this is what Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks talk about all the time, right? He's one of those guys. But if you were to remove everything you know up to this point, other than the data we have at hand, right? Yeah, I think it's hands down you would take McDuffie over. It's a really interesting situation. I want to get your all's take on that, because this is something that's going to pop up this week. I think it's a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong, but what's your all's take on that? Go ahead, Emilio.
No, absolutely. I mean, yeah, injuries happen, but all of this time, injuries give opportunities to other players to step up, next man up mentality, get those reps, because that's going to be important down the line. All right. McDuffie has gotten some reps on the end there. I think the other thing that kind of, I don't know how you dive into it, but his stops, him being a sandbacker a lot up on the line of scrimmage, he's already there at the line on some of those plays that he's making. He has shot the gap. We've seen him, start, stop, shoot, and get in there. But maybe some of those where he was already on the line, Quay's climbing each time as a stack. So that would maybe be my only, pushback on that for Quay. But yeah, love Quay, the horizontal speed, all of that. The speed for the defense comes from the linebackers. So having Quay out there would be, obviously beneficial to us. But I'm not mad at McDuffie. I think he's played great. You have to, when you have those opportunities, and you saw that his snaps on special teams dwindled when he was 100% on the defense, because you can't have your special teams captain out there running all those other snaps up and down on punt team coverage and all that. Keep him out there for a field goal block or something. But I'm super happy with McDuffie compared to, where we were kind of at last year with a couple of tough spots for him.
Yeah, not so cool says here in the chat, Tim. Quay is sideline to sideline. McDuffie is north and south. And I think that's a fair point right there as well. How do you feel about it, Tim? If you had to make the decision, Quay's 100% healthy, which one are you playing out there in the nickel 4-2-5 along with Edger and Cooper?
I'm going with my boy Quay. You know that off bat. I feel like he's earned it. He's missed a couple of weeks with the stinger. But you got to put him on the field. However, I will agree with not so cool. His point is valid. You've got kind of two different linebackers here, and if you look at what we're up against on Sunday, it's going to be a heavy run attack. At least that's what we're anticipating from the Bears. So I like McDuffie as a north and south guy. Playing downhill, as they say, and making those tackles in the run fit and things like that. And I like Quay Walker side to side. And, coverage backers. So, time will tell how it looks, but I think both of these guys play football. It's just a matter of who's gonna be your starting green dot. And, if Quay is in fact 100%, him taking a step forward here on the injury report is a good sign. It's been a couple of weeks since the stinger. So I think we're going to see a little bit of both, but my money's on Quay getting the start if he's 100%.
Yeah. As we wrap up on the Packers side of the injury report, it is worth mentioning, I think there's a realistic shot that these players do not play. Javon Bullard, your slot corner, Lucas Van Ness, defensive lineman. I don't think there's any shot he plays. Savion Williams, wide receiver. I don't think he'll play. And Devontae Wyatt is obviously out for the season. So I think you'll be without those players. Everyone else, I think, could be a game time decision. I'm trying to look here. Jaden Reed, it sounds like he's going to go. All signs point to Jaden Reed's going to be out there. I hope that's the case. Colin Oliver, I don't think they'll put him out there. I think they'll ramp him and Marshawn Lloyd up for a couple of weeks. Same thing with Brenton Cox Jr. Other than that, everybody else is pretty well good to go. Carl Brooks, maybe he's limited. He hasn't played in a while. That's one you want to get back, obviously, with the loss of Devontae Wyatt. And we did an extensive deep dive yesterday on the show, just a quick little episode. Warren Brinson, boys, I think that's your three tech. I really do. Yeah. 13.5% pressure rate. Dude's had a solid run stop rate as well. I'm really impressed with Warren Brinson. I think that's going to be the three tech. Ideally that you put in that situation. But again, if Carl Brooks is healthy, you're probably going to put Carl Brooks out there over Brinson, or at least get a good even rotation. So going to be interesting there. Moving on to Chicago's side of the injury report. In terms of what changed, Kyle Mananga, awesome running back, had an ankle injury, did not participate Wednesday, limited today. I think he will go this week against the Packers, me personally. In terms of did not participate, you got Ruben Hippolyte, if I'm saying that right, Hippolyte, linebacker. He did not participate. You have Rome Odunze with the foot injury, did not participate both days. That's going to be interesting.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
And then Tyreek Stevenson with the hip injury did not participate as well. Joe Tooney just having the veteran rest. He'll be good to go. And that offensive line is pretty stout. But how do y'all feel about Rome Odunze? I'm going to comb through Twitter real quick and see if I can find any inside info there. How do you guys feel about the Packers side of the injury report?
Well, that dude, I mean, we know Rome Odunze is that guy, right? Him not being available is going to affect their passing game, period, point blank. I mean, we talk about Caleb being dynamic as a runner. If you take a weapon away from him in the passing attack, it's going to make it that much more difficult for them to, move the ball in the passing game. So I think Rome Odunze, not participating the last couple of days, that's a big deal. Of course, for all we know, he could get a, game time status and be out there. But right now it's trending that looks like he's not going to play. And I think that bodes well for, our defense going into this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. I think that him, not being out there is going to be a beneficial thing, that the corners maybe can play a little bit more up. We can press a little bit more. Maybe you can play a little bit more spot drop looking at him coverage wise because you're not as worried. But him being their best receiver, that's a loss. And yeah, Clay Hoplite was one of the maybe like 10 that we didn't have on the board. I think they picked him up in like the 5th round or something. But besides that, the Bears don't have as long of a list as we do, and they're not, they're not in horrible shape. But I think losing, your best receiver is going to be an issue.
Yeah, and shout out to Wendell Ferreira. He actually tweeted out, he's asking the same questions we are about Odunze. 2 consecutive DMPs for Rome Odunze. He quote tweeted Harrison Graham, who has a significant following. He's got 16,000 followers. Looks like he hosts a podcast for the Bears, it sounds like. He tweeted out, Rome Odunze did not practice today. Officially a concern for Sunday. Tomorrow will be big. So we'll keep our eye to that injury report tomorrow to see if he is good to go. Now, there was a little bit of drama earlier in the year, if you guys remember. Caleb Williams kind of threw Rome Odunze under the bus. This guy tweeted out, PPR Fantasy Tips tweeted out, Rome Odunze has dropped 2 passes all season, only 2 drops, right? 46 of Rome Odunze's 84 targets have been catchable. I don't mean to laugh. 84 times he's been targeted. Only 46 of the 84 have been deemed catchable, right? That's 55%, 45% uncatchable. But according to Caleb Williams, truthers, Rome Odunze, quote, needs to come back to the ball and, quote, needs to stop dropping passes. It says stop with this nonsense. That is just a tweet attached right at the bottom there. It kind of perked my interest a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. If Rome Odunze ain't out there, they're going to be
all out against the run, baby, all day.
Yeah,
all day.
So that is your Packers-Bears injury report. If you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments how you feel about that injury report. Is there anything we missed that could have happened here? Is there maybe a player on Chicago's side that we didn't talk about that maybe wasn't on the injury report that might have been put on our? Let us know in the comments what you think about this health situation between the Packers and the Bears as we approach game day quickly. Also, make sure you click subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. All right.